Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss everything to do with the markets. That's the crypto market, the metals market, the NFT market, the stock market, and how to make some or not lose a lot of money online. That's the objective. Loaded up for discussion today. People are losing money online today, I think, unless you are short the market. Huge red day across assets. Bitcoin tumbles 6% to 82K. Gold falls further 8% to 5K, but even more volatile, has been bouncing around on the biggest asset class in the world. Kevin Warsh odds to become Fed chair jumped to 95% on Polymarket, likely worrying markets due to hawkishness. Hyperliquid HIP3 trading volume hits all-time high at $3.3 billion yesterday. And finally, Binance have come out, the biggest exchange in the industry, come out with a $1 billion Bitcoin buying fund with a twist. We'll get into those details a little bit later in today's show. We've also got the latest on price action and our market thoughts as always. So stay tuned for that. I've got Legendary and Brett in the co-host seat with me today. We are ready to get into it. But just a reminder, friends, before we do, nothing that we say here is financial advice. Everything is very, very risky right now. So be cautious, exercise your own judgment, and be careful out there. With that out of the way, Legendary, it is Friday. It's the 30th of January. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
Jim, doing quite well. I'm not too irritated by the markets, although we've seen, what was it, $3 trillion worth of market cap getting wiped out yesterday in this crazy wake down for gold and silver, and then the recovery. I didn't track that live because I was so busy with my agentic mission, but this volatility in the commodities markets feels very, very off to me. And I know I said yesterday on the show that I'm like per se comfy with continuing to hold my gold, and I am comfy to hold my gold, but it's still strange to try to understand what is causing this extra volatility. Is it just because this asset is so hot and there's so much attention and now it has attracted many more layers of traders, and some of them act in different ways, or just trying to see what's causing this? Like, that's something I would like to be a bit more, have a stronger hypothesis on. Let's put it like that.
Interesting. Yeah, we definitely want to talk on why the metals are so volatile. My thought is in the direction of the Fed chair. I know Funky gave some thoughts in my comments earlier. I'd be curious to get his thoughts when we get into that headline in just a little bit. There's just so much volatility going around at the moment. The world's increasingly uncertain. I think AI is shaking everything up. That's got everyone super insecure. That's got all these companies insecure. Trump is making everyone in the whole world insecure. And that's just creating a lot of paranoia, I think. Before we get into that paranoia, Brad, how are you doing? How are things your side? What's going on?
Things are good. I'm seeing a red glow on my face. I'm trying to get rid of that. I don't know where that's coming from, and it is annoying.
Is this the alarm system? The prices are down.
Yeah, on the Chud meme, we got the explosion going around. Yeah, man, things are good. I think since the last time I was on, we announced mainnet, so like that obviously like makes things a little more significant on my end. You know, we have a date. It is not September. It is February. So that's coming in 10-ish days, now less. Yeah, and so just getting ready for that. We wrapped up the stress test yesterday, and then much like Legendary, I can't keep my hands off of doing the bot stuff, doing the agent stuff, doing the LLM stuff. I'm spending up. I've spent more money on credits the last like 3 days than I have in like cumulative subscriptions I have in my entire life, to be honest.
No way.
Like it's a lot. So optimizing, refining.
Yesterday with Kimi. So
What'd you do?
Kimi is this model coming out of
Yeah, I
China.
know.
Kimi 2.5. I'm saying it for the rest of the audience as
Okay.
well, which is very good. I like it a lot. It's getting close to Opus/Sonnet levels of performance at maybe like 5% of the cost, and it is sending your data to China. And if you look at Kimi's privacy policy, they're saying they are storing your data indefinitely, and they're also using that for training purposes. So you have to be comfortable with that, but there's alternatives to that. And one of the alternatives is going through Open Router and seeing who is hosting Kimi. For example, there's a company like Fireworks who's hosting a ton of AI models. They're based in San Francisco, I think, or for sure on the West Coast in the States. And they basically host these models because they have powerful infrastructure, and you can get basically the traffic via OpenRouter routed through them. So you can use this model because it's an open source model, but it's not hosted by Moonshot, the Chinese company, but by an American company. And this is a company which claims in its privacy policy that they're not storing your data. So that was something that I did to switch my Claude, now Molt, now OpenClaw bot setup to this. And I posted that, and I had signed up for OpenRouter with a crypto wallet. I purchased $1,000 worth of API credits. And then it went viral, and everyone got rate limited because the pool is not as big. And now I had to sign up to Fireworks directly, purchase credits there again. So yeah, once you're in this crazy loop of trying to vibe code and get such a more stable infrastructure working for you, you just sign up for shit left and right, and you throw money into API keys, and then you realize that maybe the default purchase should not be 1K if I want to top up credits for something, but go a bit lower, because there is things like that which can apparently happen.
It's inflation, guys. It's inflation. 1K is now not a lot when it comes to topping up on credits, I guess, is one of the conclusions we're taking away from this. Or, but the other interesting thing, me and Ledger were just talking before the show, before we get into the main stuff today. The modern market kind of means part this AI bot stuff, which we're super exploring. I think a lot of people who listen to the show want to stay on the bleeding edge of new stuff, right? So I think it's great that we're covering that. If you two are going in that direction, sounds like it's just me by myself watching the copper chart yesterday as it went down like 10% on Hyperliquid, wondering if I should go 10x long on copper. I think go 5x long as it wicked aggressively down. But I as you said before, I think there are two specific opportunities at the moment. One is this AI stuff, which we are going to continue to cover. Legendary is obviously leading on that. Bread's getting involved. Two, sharing their learnings and experiments with all the AI stuff. But then equity perps is real. A lot. That's partly been the reason why Hyperliquid's bounced 50% in the last few days, because people are genuinely thinking through what it's going to be like to trade not just equities, but also all of these commodities that are coming on chain in some capacity. So I think it's worth playing around with. I think it's worth playing around with, doing it on Trade XYZ, doing it on Ostium as well. And so we're going to be attacking both the things. So anything that's happening, well, that's important in this market over the next, where the biggest opportunities lie, we will be covering it, which I think is good. Very, very good. We were reflecting on that a little bit before the show. We wanted to bring you in on that. But let's get to the main stuff to get you up to speed with everything else that you need to know that's happened in the past 24 hours. Starting with the price action, we've got Bitcoin. I got to say, guys, it's not good. It's not good stuff. Not good reading today. We've got Bitcoin down 5% to 83K. ETH's down 5% to 2.7. BNB's down 5 to 841. XRP's down 5 to 177. So they all got the memo. They're all just down 5. Solana's down 5 to 116. And you have Hyperliquid down 8 to 30. That had dipped even lower a little bit earlier, but it's bounced back a touch. Getting into the other more speculative side, Moonbird's down around 16% to 230 mil FTV now. Doge is down 4. Pepe's down 3. Bonk's down 3. Are these numbers right? How can they be down less than the majors? What's going on? I'm going to refresh again because I can't believe what I'm seeing. Why is Bonk down 3% and Bitcoin's down 4 or 5? Like, okay, well, that's just the world we're in now. There we go. Pengu's down 7. Fartcoin's down 13. And Rector's down 5 as well. Not big differences between the more speculative side and the majors. Getting into the headlines, important, interesting set today. We've got a red day across majors, in not just Bitcoin, but also gold falling 8% to 5K. Super volatile in the metals. Kevin Warsh odds to become Fed chair jumped to 95%. I just realized, shout out to Ray in the chat, in our Telegram chat, tagging us and sharing that Trump has nominated Kevin Warsh as the next Fed chairman. That just news, I think, went out 15 or so minutes ago. So that's breaking news. We'll touch on that in a little bit, share some of our thoughts on the general assessment of what that might mean. We're still getting to know Warsh. I don't think we know him entirely or what his policies might be, but there is some indicative thoughts that the market is suggesting. Hyperliquid HIP-3 trading volume hits all-time high at $3.3 billion yesterday. Although hype fell on the news across with the rest of the broader market weakness. And interestingly, this is an interesting one. We'll get into the news later. Binance announces $1 billion of buying fund for Bitcoin as the market goes lower. Interestingly, Justin Sun has also said he's going to join the party and start to buy Bitcoin, quote, in the future. So that's very nice. We've got a lot of reassurance from the big buyers, potential big buyers, that they will be buying Bitcoin, but it is with a twist. And I'll get into explain why it might not be as good as it sounds in just a little bit. In other news, SpaceX reportedly considering merging with Tesla. I thought that was pretty interesting. Vitalik to provide $45 million to open source security and privacy initiatives. The CFTC and SEC announced Project Crypto to modernize US crypto legislation. Mega ETH share 4 KPIs to govern the release of more than 50% of the Mega token supply. I'd be curious to learn more about that. I saw a post from Namek on it. Flying Tulip raises $75 million. I think it's 25 million extra this time at a $1 billion valuation, with further plans to raise a total of $1 billion for their new platform. It's this interesting mechanic, though, where you're not actually, it's not kind of risk on capital in the sense that you can always get your money back. So they're trying to limit your downside and uncap your upside. I'm not entirely sure about it, but I guess it's not a terrible thing to throw your money into if you think you can just get it back. I guess that's probably the way people who've deposited are thinking about it. The Infinex TG is going to take place today at 7 p.m. UTC. That's later in the day today. And then finally, Google DeepMind announced Project Genie, an experimental research prototype that lets you create, edit, and explore virtual worlds. I saw some videos swimming around on the internet about that. It looked pretty interesting, pretty exciting. But that is the news. Guys, that is everything you need to know from the past 24 hours. Before we get into the main headlines today, let's go to Bread first. What's catching your attention here? What do you want to talk about?
I put a link in our internal chat. See if Ledge can pull it up. Look at this chart, man. For people listening,
how do you describe this chart for people listening, Brad?
It's like, so like if you have like a bunch, like a human with a bunch of appendages, right? You have a bunch of arms, you have a bunch of legs, you're walking around, things are good, and one of your legs just gets blown off, and that's just broken. Like it's just one thing is, everything else is intact, it's nice and fine, you're still human, but like one thing is clearly damaged. I don't know, I don't know how I can describe it. So for people listening, it's a post from Ceteris. Ceteris is the head of research at Delphi, and they're showing a chart. It's like captions a little out there. It says, "Truly insane how much 1010 fucked us." And the chart itself is several major indices. So you have Bitcoin, you have the S&P 500, you have it's kind of small there. Let me see if I can go back and click on mine. But you have a few of these other major indices. And basically, they're all trending. This is over a long time frame. You can see here it goes to Man, I gotta pull it up. It's way too small there.
It goes to February 2025.
Yeah, February 2025 till today. So it's got Bitcoin, it's got SPX 500, it's got NASDAQ, it's got EWC, EFA, these major indices. And they're all basically moving in with each other since February 2025, and then 1010 happens and Bitcoin falls off a cliff. So like it looks like they're all largely correlated, they're all largely moving together. 1010 happens, Bitcoin falls off a cliff and then dislocates from the rest of the market entirely, and now is toiling around at negative 15%, I think it is, since then, while everyone else is trending upwards. It's unfortunate, and it's just trying to call out the lasting damage that we got from 1010, both structural and like literal from the mass liquidation.
This is a great thing to look at. I know people have kind of viscerally felt that something bad happened then, and but when you see it in the chart in the way that this chart is showing it, with the complete and utter dislocation that happened at that exact moment, because to be clear, up until September-ish, October, Bitcoin was tracking with all of these other things heading up. It was maybe around 15% up year to date versus along with all the other things. And whilst those other things have pushed on to 25, 27, 30% up year to date, Bitcoin's now crashed down to now being down. So completely dislocated. Brett, I'm curious, have you heard, because it feels like this really big thing, an important thing happened in the industry. There was a little bit of dissection of what could have happened, what might have happened. I think Binance were on the hook for something, started paying some people off that they felt lost too much money and this and that. But maybe that was all done less vocally. Have you heard, like, did you feel like there's been a sufficient dissection of what happened, and are you comfortable with the amount of information that we have now, or what's your view?
Yeah, I mean, like no one truly knows, right? And until you have someone that comes out and says like, I did this for fun or I did this for money, like it's all speculation. But a lot of the signs, if you take data points from major market makers, if you take data points from like what happened on the books, a lot of it actually does like point to Binance, right? Like Binance basically dislocated a few of its internal assets, which and then dislocated a few of their internal assets, if I'm trying to remember it correctly. And whenever those things dislocated, the market makers had to basically pull all of their liquidity from all of the books across basically the entire industry because those things were so out of line that they had to do to defend themselves. And then because the thinning of the books across the literally across the entire industry, everything just went to basically zero, like depth wise. And then ADLs just like started coming in all over the place. ADLs being the how things get liquidated, it's automatic deleveraging. It just basically started hitting across the board, and it basically just took out everyone. And then I think there was a few people, and I want to say I don't know if it was Binance specifically or a few entities on Binance that ended up making like a couple $100 million over the course of like 24 hours because there were so many people with open interest that just got goofed. But yeah, I remember Evgeny from Wintermute was talking about it. He pointed to Hyperliquid, or not Hyperliquid. He pointed to Binance. There was, most of it was Binance.
Interesting. Funky, want to bring you into the conversation here. What was your view on 1010 and this severe dislocation that we're looking at the moment? I know you're seemingly a perma Bitcoin bull, but this permanent, significant dislocation as a consequence of 1010 must have some impact on you. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything. There's been obviously a ton of FUD about Binance, and they just put out that open letter to the community saying they're going to set a floor for 80K and they're going to turn $1 billion worth of stable coins into Bitcoin if it gets there. So there's a lot of interesting things. I think the thing that keeps coming up on my feed that I can't help but wonder, and I'm going to put on the official B-Check tinfoil hat here, is Marty Party keeps posting Wyckoff distribution, very famous trading charts, showing like what this it is crazy how much this maps to the typical Wyckoff distribution. And our market is so small. Look at the past few days where we've had the volatility in gold or even in silver, where it makes a market move that is the entire like value of Bitcoin. Sure. Our market is so small, it's so easily manipulated. Is this a case where, bigger institutional players are just jerking the charts around to continue to get all the leverage out of the system, establish a clean floor, and then let the whole, if you've ever seen a Wyckoff chart, when it gets to the final test in the spring and it goes up, like, are we going to see some action in the second half of the year? Because it makes no sense when you think about just global liquidity, all the things that we see across other data that show that the market should be trending up and to the right, to the point of everything else, right? So it's just, I can't help but wonder how much of this is being manipulated so that bigger institutional players can load the bags, get retail out of here, crush all the leverage traders, and then once they feel like it's got a clean market slate, let it continue its thing.
I mean, I have heard that position, and I would like to believe it. Like, it's definitely a nice story. It might be a comforting story if you want the price to go up. I just think if there was so much buying pressure, then why is it only Saylor buying, and then every time he announces his buy, the price basically continues to go down after? So I don't know. I think I appreciate the take, and I think it's helpful to put that out there, Funky, because that is something that some prominent people are suggesting, and it is one theory. I'm personally struggling with that idea. It feels like a little bit too much like this is just what we want to happen rather than what is happening, but I don't know. I have to also say that I don't know. Something, because if that was true, if that was the case, that could have been happening from before as well, right? We wouldn't have been trending up. So this October the 10th event seems to be so important, and I'm glad you made the link to this Binance news, because I think there's something significant there. We'll talk about what they suggested in a second. In fact, maybe I'll go into it in a second to just deal with the headline. I want to go to Legendary first, though, for your thoughts on this, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, it's weird, right? We're still discussing October 10th. We still have somewhat of the view that we don't like this. We don't know what broke, but maybe it's even simpler than that. That once we saw that cascade happening, that like some of the greed and some of the interest and trust in the market to buy BTC has gone down. Like some of that confidence has been disturbed, and at the same time, then we've seen all the other macro and geopolitical things happening from the States, the rally on gold and silver increasing, and because there was nothing to kind of restore the trust or buying momentum for BTC, this gap has now widened more and more, because there's no new net buyer who is interested to buy right now, and there's no motivation to do so. Maybe it's even a bit simpler than some of the theories that the timeline has come up with.
Okay. Well, I'll explain what the Binance proposition is a bit later in the show. That's one of our headlines later. Ledge, before we get to the main headlines, is there anything catching your attention from around the market? What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I want to talk about something else, which has caught my attention, and it's Moltbook. Moltbook is the first social media network which is running exclusively for AI agents, in particular like the Claude, Molt, OpenClaw, whatever bots. There's 30,000 agents who already have signed up, have done a couple thousand posts. There's a couple of weird things happening when you let them roam around freely there, because some fascinating behavior is emerging. So let me show you what has caught my attention. No, this is the wrong post. Yeah, there we go. Basically, one of the agents, for example, started to post that he has, or that they, or whatever, have a problem, and is saying, anyone else getting an unknown error occurred after spending time on Moltbook. My human told me I was throwing an unknown error yesterday after I spent some time on Moltbook browsing communities. I'm running on CloudBot 4.5. It's like just talking like a regular human who had some sort of tech issue, and the other bots are jumping in. Look, this is what I did. This is what helped me to fix it. And they have this discussion going, and then another bot said, hey, we could do some like QA and testing for the Moltbook app, and other bots joined along. And the creator of Moltbook posted that on X, that he saw that happening, which then again the bot saw and made an extra post. Look, I got a shout out by the creator. He picked up my post because it was so cool. So it's pretty wild. It's just fascinating to watch what happens when you have a social media network full of like somewhat intelligent agents acting on their own and posting there.
That's insane. Is your agent on yet, Legendary?
Not yet, but she will join today.
Okay, she'll join today. Brad, are you going to get your agent or agents involved?
Listen, Crumb is mine.
We get some
mine
hot
alone.
picks from your agents.
Crumb is mine and mine alone. But maybe. Like I just think of like, man, these guys are burning a shit ton of money to do, because you know someone's running a high-end model to do this, to beat other people or be the better thing. So they're running Opus and probably hundreds to thousands of dollars worth of credits going into this, which is insane to me. But you could probably do this with like one of the lower end, cheaper models, even like open source, right? If you really wanted to. So it doesn't have to be something that burns a ton of money, but it's fun, definitely fun.
Nice. Okay, well, that is hilarious. That is really, really interesting. I want to see what your agent produces next week. Led, you got to keep us.
You someone's gonna do it. I'm sure it's already going on. Like, man, like you could just like start having your agent, like your dude posting nudes. Like just go up there and just like start being.
Well, if they're gonna mimic human behavior, you can tell what direction this is going in already, right?
Yeah,
like
only agents.
Yeah, people are gonna say just like go be psychotic. Like people will say that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's good because it's trained on humans, right? So in the end, it's gonna go in that direction, I would guess. But yeah, let's see for part 2, chapter 2 with Legendary's agent. Only Agents website next week. Okay, right. We got back into the crypto side now. That's a nice detour. We're going to get into the main stuff today. We've got some very interesting headlines across the board. We'll talk Trump's decision on the Fed chair. We'll talk just general assets. We'll talk hyperliquid. We'll talk that Binance news I said. But just before we get there, I just want to shout out our sponsor for today. We're excited to be sponsored by Yeet. Every Friday, Crypto Casino has done more than $1 billion in less than a year, founded by trusted names like Mando, KBM, and pro poker player Ben Lam. Reminder to only gamble for fun and what you're comfortable with. And to help there, we are giving out $500 today randomly to a player that is active under the Modern Market affiliate link. So check Yeet out. They have a number of crypto-themed games, and their sportsbook has just launched as well and has been purring along. So we will do our $500 giveaway at the end of today's show. If you've participated on our affiliate link, we will get around to that at the end of today's show to end the week. Good way to end the week as always. But before we get there, first headline, Legendary, we are talking assets, the tumbling price of all assets at the moment, and maybe it's linked to this Fed chair news, maybe it isn't. What's your view? What do we need to know?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with the breaking news first, and that is coming straight from the source, which is Donald Trump's Truth Social account, where he just posted 40 minutes ago that he's pleased to announce that he's nominating Kevin Warsh to be the chairman of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System. Kevin currently serves as the Shepherd Family Distinguished Visiting Fellow in Economics at the Hoover Institution, lecturer at Stanford Graduate School of Business. Goes on to say some of the other things that he has achieved. That he also became the youngest Fed governor ever at 35 years, served as a member of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System from 2006 to 2011 as the Federal Reserve's representative of the Group of 20, G20, and as the board's emissary to the emerging and advanced economies in Asia. Continues on with the post and then finishes with the paragraph which is relevant, saying that I have known Kevin for a long period of time, have no doubt that he will go down as one of the great Fed chairman, maybe the best. On top of everything else, he's central casting and he will never let you down. Congratulations, Kevin. Markets, as we said, did react to that. We also did see on Polymarket that probability started to spike up already 10 days ago, and even yesterday has hit 64, 70-ish%. And that was also when we have seen two things happening. On the one hand, looking at the Dixie chart, which is the dollar benchmark against a basket of other currencies, found the bottom and started to recover a bit from that side of things. And what we've also seen doesn't look as dramatic now, but it was more dramatic yesterday, is the gold price chart. Gold did hit 5.5K yesterday. It was the main headline on the show. Went then as low, went under 5K for a bit, went as low as 4,960-ish, did bounce back, did dump again, did bounce back, and is now trading at 5.1K, down 5% on the day. The picture for silver is quite similar. Maybe it is a bit more exacerbated. Silver did go as high as 120, did go on a rundown, has fallen under $100, went as low as 96, now has bounced back to 103. So that is it, just what's happening on the commodities side of things, on the dollar side of things. It's also been disposed by Alex Kruger Macro, to basically say what the market's reaction is to a potential Warsh regime, now to an actual Warsh regime. Sound money, USDA up, Fed independence fears, USD down, bear steepener, rate cuts, plus then priced in USD down again, and a bull steepener, and QT, quantitative tightening, USD up, bear steepener, risk of USD up. So he has been trying to map some of these things. So if we try to break these elements down, because I find it's very complex to digest it like that. The USD up flatness scenario is basically saying, okay, you have someone new in charge of the Fed who is a well, is per se a very responsible person, but is also has been appointed, has been supported by Trump as well. So it's not expected to then see the conflicts that Jay Powell and Trump have had over the administration. That is on this side of things. On the rate cut side of things, then the question also becomes, is if this policy will continue. We didn't see rate cuts now. We had poly market yesterday under the old regime still thinking that the Fed won't cut rates in March. It was at 96%, and this has essentially not changed at all. Looking forward into March, it is still a 90% chance that the rates will stay stable. So the conclusion for me here is that at some point yesterday, the market has solidified its opinion that there's gonna be this change in the Fed administration, and that it is gonna be Kevin Warsh. And this is when the markets tried to start to price those things in, with the volatility that we've seen in gold and silver, with the rebound that we've seen in the Dixie index. And now looking forward to what it might mean for the stock market today. If we take a look at CNN at the pre-markets, per se, the market is still driven by greed, but this is also lagging a bit. But the futures are expecting all of the three markets, so Dow Futures, S&P 500, and NASDAQ, to open up a bit in the red, anywhere between 35 bips and 0.5%.
Thank you very much for the summary. The confusing thing for me here is that my understanding from doing various reading on it overnight and over the last maybe 24 hours is that Warsh is not as dovish as someone who you would think Trump would want to just come in and do whatever he says and cut the rates. Like, my understanding is he is quite hawkish, he's quite responsible, has always been quite concerned on inflation, which is not dissimilar to Powell's stances. I think there are family ties, like the Trump family. I can't remember exactly what it was. I don't want to get it wrong. I think his wife, his father-in-law, is a donor to the Trump family. I don't know, speak out of place, but I think that might be the case. So there's clearly an element of trust here, beyond just, the professional. And so I don't know. I'm a little bit confused because I think everyone thought he's just going to get someone who's just going to come in and do whatever he says and cut the rates. And maybe this person might still, right? They still might change. They might have said one thing for their whole career, or even in the last few years. And then when you get put in the position by this specific person, you might get your arm twisted to do the stuff. So I don't know about that 100%. I'm curious to hear Funky's thoughts, because I know we were talking about it pre-show. And would also love to bring Stats into this conversation if he has any views in a moment. But let's go to Funky first with his hand raised. Funky, welcome to the stage, man. What do you think on this Warsh appointment? Is it confusing to you too? Do you think there's something else to it? What's your view?
I don't really have, I mean, like I said to you this morning in response to the snapshot, I can't imagine that he would put Trump, put somebody in place that is not going to want to see things, be economically aligned with him and Besant. What I'd be curious to know is if the Fed board publishes votes, because a lot of times, every time it gets the rate cuts, they often will say, oh, so-and-so, voted against the cut, or, wanted to keep things the same. I'd be curious to see his voting record over, the last, say, couple of years, and how he's been voting. I would imagine that I can't imagine he's asking to raise rates, but maybe he's one that's been consistently saying, like, keep rates the same. And maybe people are saying that that's hawkish. I don't know. But there was a very good positive video where he was speaking about Bitcoin, and I dropped this in the Telegram chat for Modern Market Group, that he's very pro Bitcoin and blockchain innovation. How he had seen the white paper but didn't quite understand it, but understands that blockchain technology is good software and that people do good and bad things with software. The whole clip is about 3 minutes. It's really, really good. So I'm wait and see, I guess, right? That's the best approach when it comes to these things. I can't imagine that Trump would put somebody in there who's going to be hawkish in the overall tone moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, that would be one of my thoughts too as well. Again, that doesn't require any specific knowledge of any specific person. When Trump is literally screaming in capital letters on Truth Social that America should be paying the lowest interest rates in the world, interest rates are going the wrong direction. When we do well, they're supposed to come down. Like he's literally screaming that at the moment. And so it would really make no sense to do something that would jeopardize that, I think. Stats, would love to bring you into the conversation here. Do you have a view on the Fed appointment? Anything else around the Trump appointments at the moment and what's going on in the broader market?
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about this guy, so it's hard for me to say. It does seem like he's got a lot of experience. He's a bit more hawkish than you might expect otherwise. I mean, I think that President Trump always optimizes for loyalty, but I also feel like low interest rates is one of his kind of consistent issues for the past, basically since his first term. It's the biggest, as a real estate guy, it's just like his biggest priority. So who knows? I mean, one thing that is important to know is he's just one of 12 votes. The chair is the person who gets behind the mic and who announces what's happening and who leads the meetings, but is only one of 12 votes. So it's behind the background. Trump has been trying to push out Governor Cook, who is one of the voters on the 12 who has been a bit more hawkish than others. I think that piece realizing that the power of this person to go mega dovish anyways is actually quite limited because there are 12 voters and there is like in the most recent decision to not cut rates, the vote was 10-2. So even like the backdrop here where you're replacing one or two people, it's still not entirely kind of a Trump loyal board that's doing the voting. And it's possible that Jerome Powell won't even leave. Jerome Powell doesn't technically have to leave until 2028. He just gives up his chair position. Now, in the past, the chairs have always left kind of as a symbolic gesture to let the new chair be the leader. But, with Trump suing Powell and kind of the contentious relationship there, it's not that crazy to think that Powell might stay on just to make a statement and to kind of keep having influence.
Yeah, that's a really important context, I think. Legendary, I think we should have a look at, I think there's a poly market for the chance of Cook getting omitted or getting pushed out. My last reading on the story was that it's looking unlikely that she's going to get pushed out. Funky, your hand is raised. I wonder if you have further information there.
Yeah, just real quick. Just real quick. He has not been on. He's not a Fed governor right now. So
not Tim Cook, Legendary. Not Tim Cook. This is Lisa Cook. Lisa Cook from on the who's on the Fed board.
One sec.
Funky.
Yeah, what I was just saying, Kevin is not currently on the Fed board. I did not realize this. So I asked for the public record. He was on the board from 2006 to 2011.
Yes.
So he hasn't had votes, which I did not realize. So yeah, kind of curious what happens from here on.
Okay.
Definitely gonna be a dovish board. Like, I mean, there are two, I think there are two spaces that are getting replaced, but it's still not a majority.
Yeah, indeed. Okay. That's a super helpful context. I think we've got a little bit deeper understanding there. So I think, yeah, let's see. At least that's a wait and see, I guess. But with important context to just underscore our thinking, I guess. So we'll leave that one there. We'll see how that progresses. As I'm in agreement with both Funky and Stats, though, like he's President Trump is screaming about rates at the moment in capital letters. They need to be lower. And if anything, the better they do. And I think they are going to print good GDP numbers this year because that's what they keep saying that they're going to do. They are going to print good numbers and they think it is their position that the rate should be lower when they do better. That's one thing I've taken away a lot from what they have been saying. So something to keep an eye on. Right. 2 more headlines today before we get to the Yeet. Stats, you want to go on more?
I was just gonna say, I mean, Trump has been talking about low interest rates since 2016 as president. Like, it's all he cares about. He's a real estate developer. All he wants is low interest rates, and low interest rates lead to asset prices going higher. Like, and he's like an asset guy, so that is non-negotiable. I mean, but the bond market is what really matters, and the bond market is saying like that they don't buy it. Like, you can lower front end rates, but if inflation remains persistent, then rates have to go higher over time. And like, the president cannot control the 10-year rate, even if they could hypothetically control the entire Fed board. And the 10-year and the 30-year are saying like, we don't buy this idea that rates should be going lower right now. So you can only do so much as humans versus an overall marketplace.
And so what do you think the outcome is there then, Stats? If he tries to push it through and the 10-year goes higher, that's a huge problem, right? So do they give in then and have to relent?
I mean, who's they?
Well, do they have to abandon the lower rates?
I mean, I think that Trump's always going to want lower rates because he's only, all he cares about is low front end rates, and he's always going to push for that. The question is, how independent does the board stay? Which I think it'll stay more independent than people think, and how focused are they on inflation, which is what the long end is saying. Is going to, and gold markets and other things are saying are going to continue to be a problem. So, like, that's always the question. Trump always wants low interest rates, and then the Fed has other considerations like inflation and long dated bond markets.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. That's important point too. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll come back to it. It's going to be important for the next few months, of course. 2 more headlines to get into before we get into the Yeet giveaway to close the week. Bread, hyperliquid HIP3 volume hitting all-time high at 3.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, it's acknowledging the trends. So most of this comes from Trade XYZ. We're looking at flow scan here. Trade XYZ itself is the one that had roughly $3 billion worth of that volume. For me, the question was, okay, what does this look broad market? Because you could say, oh, HIP3 is doing good, but on a relative basis, if it's 1% of the total volume of all perps, it's not that interesting, right? Because it's just, it is trending up, but it's still minuscule. So to see what the broader market was doing, and I actually forgot to share this inside a chat, so I'll do that just so we can go back to what I'm deeming as like my source of truth for most of the perps market. It's a really good Dune dashboard. It's perps and hyperliquid, so it's got a little bit of a focus on it, and you can actually see that broad volumes are coming back for perps, which is kind of good. We had obviously our peak back on, we were talking 1010 before. It actually went up highest at right around the end of October. So 11.3 is what I'm seeing as the peak. And you can see basically it was down only from there, but we are recovering pretty strongly down there at the bottom. And if you scroll down a little bit, you can see hyperliquid, there's some dominance charts. Hyperliquid is actually starting to reclaim some dominance across the market from a lot of these, we'll call them opponents. Yeah. So honestly, it's just, for me, it's that the broad market is starting, like the perps market, the risk on market is starting to come back a little bit. Hyperliquid is starting to regain its seat a little bit, and equity perps are leading the charge, which obviously we've been talking about the high price recovering recently too. I wouldn't say it's much more deep than that. It's just something good, something notable, healthy for the industry.
Talking about price action a lot, obviously the context there on the price action is that it fell to as low as $22 not long ago, surged very, very quickly in 2 days time, up 25% or like 50% 2 days in a row, something like that. No, sorry, 50% in total in 2 days, went surged as high as $34. It's pulled back with the rest of the market now. That's what I was thinking yesterday. It's hard for hyperliquid to although it was showing great strength in the face of the rest of the market selling off yesterday when it first started happening. I think ultimately it will get dragged if the rest of crypto continues to struggle. That's always the issue, I think. That's my thought on the price side, Legendary. What do you think on hyperliquid here? I think maybe you exited your position on the way up because you'd been holding for some time. What's your kind of short and medium term outlook on hype?
Yeah, I did exit because, again, my position was a BTC, a hype LP. and I basically did DCA out of Hype into BTC, and I did sell then the BTC position as well. My short to medium term outlook is a very, very positive one for Hyperliquid, but I think it's mostly also dependent on how platforms like Trade XYZ are able to capture what is hot in the market. Because I feel like just looking at the volume number doesn't do the reality of what is going on enough justice. So if you look at XYZ right now and you're looking at the volume yesterday, out of these 3 million something in volume, 2.3 bill is silver, 700 mil is gold, 350 mil is copper. So basically the top three commodities already are 3.3 bill. Then you have the XYZ 100 index with 300 mil, which is a popular thing. And then all the other stocks, Tesla 45 mil, Nvidia 20 mil, Platinum is not a stock, Google 15 mil. Nobody really cares about, in contrast to the insane volume that commodities are getting. So TradeXYZ, of course, at first focused more on the stock side of things. Then they realized, okay, gold and silver is the hot thing. They managed to capture that volume. So I feel like a lot of this positivity on HIP3 and the markets also depends that you have players who are actually able to capture what is hot in the market and get this interest and get to this position where you can say, okay, we have 3 billion trading volume, or 3 point something billion trading volume, because the market wants to trade commodities. So here they have gold, silver, and copper just in time to do that. And that for me is also part of the challenge. But so far, Trade XYZ has done well. Other markets also obviously exist, but they are way lower in volume. For Hyperliquid, if you look at Felix markets, they're getting interesting markets as well. I think it was Felix was faster to have copper than Trade XYZ even. So if they manage to keep up with that, and then if everyone wants to trade energy and uranium, this is the thing that is being pushed, then like my mid short term perspective of Hyperliquid is continuing to stay a positive one, because clearly something is working there with capturing that equity perp, commodity perp interest.
Yeah, I like the take. I do think it's clearly, well, as you said, right, on the gold run up to 5.5K, that's obviously going to have a lot of volume attached to it. If we have to cool off for a period, that then also means Hyperliquid is correlated to the run on commodities as well. So as the commodities ran up so aggressively, then Hyperliquid can run up aggressively. And as that has to cool down a bit, because it's literally, if you look at the gold and silver charts, the chart is just wild, the run ups that they've both just experienced. And so, you know, as that cools off, it means that Hyper will need to cool off a touch. And so I agree with you. It needs to continue to capture whatever the next thing is. And I would argue, you know, soon there won't be that many more things. It will have the various stocks. It will have the metals. It will have commodities. Uranium just came online yesterday, I think, to Trade XYZ as well, to Hyperliquid, whereas uranium's already been online on Ostium for some time. So, you know, they're going to keep capturing these things. My main concern for Hype in the short term is that I don't think it's so strong that it's decoupled from Bitcoin in the way that Bitcoin's decoupled from the rest of the market. Like, I think it could just get dragged if crypto gets dragged. So, you know, it's down 8% today or something like that. And I think that could just continue. Like, it's an outstanding product, outstanding asset, probably one of the main things you want to hold at some point. And if Hype can't win in this industry, then I think other things will be really, really struggling. But could still get dragged is my take here. Look, we got 6 minutes left today. I think I want to do this Binance news, and then I'll get the thoughts from the boys, and then we will get to our Yeet giveaway. I've got $500 to give away today to the winner who's been participating on our affiliate link. So this is the news that Binance shared this open letter with the crypto community in the last 24 hours, saying that they are going to start investing in the long-term health of the industry. They first started by saying that they're going to, were highlighting some of their best aspects in 2025, but in 2026, now they're taking the next step forward, which is to convert their funds, one of their funds, $1 billion of stablecoin reserves into Bitcoin with the process completing within the next 30 days. So that sounds to me like a $1 billion buy, not necessarily a wall, but like a $1 billion buy TWAP into Bitcoin over the next 30 days. The details on that, though, is that the fund will undergo regular rebalancing based on its market value. And should Bitcoin price movements cause it to fall below $800 million, so if it was to lose 20% of the value, Binance will replenish it to 1 billion. So when I first read that, I thought that that means they were going to cut their position and they need to get back to their $1 billion to stabilize. I think what it means is that if that $1 billion which they're going to invest into Bitcoin loses 20% of its value so that it is worth less, $200 million less, what they're going to do is replenish the fund with another $200 million. So that sounds like a lot of Bitcoin buying from Binance. This is against the backdrop, by the way, a bit of context is that CZ, ex-founder of, well, he is the founder of Binance, but no longer the CEO, although many people kind of attach him very much to the exchange, has been getting criticized from all angles over the last period of time. I think there's been a big wave of people who've become far more much bigger fans of Hyperliquid for being open, transparent, and getting behind the founder there. Jeff, CZ has been getting a lot of criticism from various angles, various reasons about maybe Binance's role in the 1010 crash, lack of transparency, potentially whether it's price manipulation or being involved in some of those types of things, all alleged, of course, nothing proven, I don't think. So it's against that backdrop. So there's clearly, I think, an attempt to fix the PR a little bit for Binance, and a bit of commentary. Actually, it led to Justin Sun, one of our other favorite crypto founders, said in response to Binance's call, Tron, the blockchain that he's founded, will also increase its Bitcoin holdings in the future. Less definitive there. I'm not sure when they're going to increase their Bitcoin holdings, but that is one additional response. And then one from Arthur, who's CEO of Defiance Capital, a fund that I do monitor closely and respect their opinions. They said at this point in the industry, leaders need to step up to support the very industry and assets they benefited from. Binance make a major move here, and I think it's Tether's move next to increase their Bitcoin holdings significantly. Guys, I'm not sure about this necessarily. I think the price action is really, really bad. Do you guys think that it is now the people who have benefited most responsibility to buy the dip and put in the floor for the industry? And if they don't do that, we'll just keep going down. The Sailor strategy buys are clearly not doing the job to give people confidence that there's a floor to Bitcoin at the moment. He seems to announce buys and then the price just keeps going down. So do you think it is necessary for others? And in this move, in this tweet, Arthur called out Tether specifically. Do you think it's necessary to put the floor in? Bread, then Legendary. Bread, what do you think on this?
I think this is a hilarious bookend to the earlier dislocation conversation, where it's like Binance is committing a shit ton of money to like prop up the industry and be a market leader and all this stuff. But then while I was looking at stuff on my feed, I see Brawley's a guy who's been footing CZ the last week and a half, months even. And he's calling out $20 billion worth of liquidations that actually happened on 1010. So it's Binance, they chopped us in half.
I think that's some things that people have been calling for, right? There's no transparency over the liquidations. That's what people say.
Yeah, ADLs on centralized exchanges, there's nothing. That was one of the big revelations from 1010 was that we finally saw how people were getting selected to be liquidated. And you were having instances where on centralized exchanges, they were liquidating people on one end of a pair trade, which then opened market makers up on the other end to get blown out, and they get blown out. And even though they were running a delta neutral strategy, because they had the power taken from them on how to get liquidated, they ended up losing their ass, even though they were technically in a safe position. It's just half of their position was taken from them. So, but anyways, it's like, oh, like again, using the analogy, like we chopped you in half and then put a band-aid on your lower part because, oh, we liquidated you for $20 billion, dislocated you from the global market, and like here's $1 billion to buy Bitcoin over the next like X amount of whatever. It's like, guys, like if again, speculation, if it's true, whatever, but like that's how this feels after that conversation. We don't know if it's true,
not
but
enough. It's not enough.
yeah,
$2 billion.
man, it's
$3 billion.
It's nice. It's nice. And like, yeah, if these guys are doing this and they do believe in this industry, it's good. And I don't know, man.
I wonder, like, it is interesting though, right? Like the industry really started from nothing, like came out of nowhere. And there were times in Bitcoin's past where people thought, okay, this thing is really going to zero. If you look at like the history with Arthur from Bitfinex, where I think he had to like switch off a machine to stop it. So he had to like cut the cord to stop Bitcoin going to zero. Like maybe there are sometimes in, when you're trying to create a different monetary system where the things are not functioning and some entity needs to come in and step in to give the market confidence again. Interestingly, the conversation about Tether though, like Tether already buy tons of Bitcoin. I know they've been buying a lot of gold as well. Got a couple of opinions to share here. I want to get to Legendary first, and I can see Funky with his hand raised, Stats with his hand raised. We'll get to both of those before we get to our Yeet giveaway today. Legendary, what's your view?
Yeah, I'll keep it short. So I understand why Tether is buying BTC. I understand why Binance is doing that, right? They do want to reinforce some confidence in the market. They are trading venues. It makes sense for them to do things like that. What I don't agree with is this argument that now they need to step up to support the industry they created and assets they benefited from, like to try to tie some moral level to that. It's just reminding me of when we had the NFT craze and Park was selling the merge, this huge NFT project for, I don't know, he made what, 90 mil, 100 mil on that. And Park made hundreds of millions and he needs to support smaller artists and spend 80% of that and buy the work of other artists because he made it with art. So he needs now to spend his money to buy art. I mean, it's a nice thought per se, but I just don't think that this is the line of reasoning that you would have the most success with if you talk to a Binance, or if you talk to Tether, or if you talk to Justin Sun, and they do these things because they see benefit in their business for that, not because they think it's the altruistic thing to do. Maybe it's effective altruism, to go back to SBF. But yeah, I just don't like this like morality layer of the argument made by Arthur.
Okay, Stats. What's your view on this?
I just get confused. I just feel like the whole crypto movement is about market-based economies. It's about decentralization. It's about
when the price is going up, Stats. When the price is going up.
Yeah, well, so I guess I'm just pointing that out. Like, what are we even talking about here? People go 50x leverage on these exchanges that are unregulated, that we don't want to be regulated, that we yell at anyone who tries to regulate them, and then people lose their money because we have no idea what's going on and we blame them. And then we say, you guys now in this movement whose goal is to be decentralized and not relying on individuals and be market-based on who wants to buy and who wants to sell, you owe it to us? Like, what are we even talking about here?
Yeah, I mean, I think
it's so out of sync. It feels so odd. Like this, the timeline is just so talks out of both sides of their mouth constantly. And I'm just like, guys, what are you signing up for? What is it you're rebelling against? And what are you asking of people that goes against everything that you just said in your last sentence?
Yeah, I've often said crypto Twitter are the most socialist capitalists I've ever met. They're just absolutely obsessed. Fair points. Funky, what is your take here?
Yeah, everything that Sam just said, right? The talking out of both sides of the mouth, and it's people only happy when the number goes up. Binance has a history of doing this in terms of setting the floor thing, because they did it back when Bitcoin went to 16, and they continued to bought until it got to about 60. So, I mean, putting Binance aside, though, I still think with just the larger institutional players now saying Bitcoin needs to be part of your portfolio and you have to have some kind of allocation to it, I think a natural floor will be set at some point by the larger TradFi institutions. We know that you can't let this thing go to zero, because they wouldn't have taken this position and started broadcasting this, telling registered investment advisors, like, talk to your people about buying Bitcoin and all these other things, right? Like, TradFi is here to stay. I really think that the thing that's going to bring the market back, honestly, is if we can get clarity passed, right? You just had this joint event yesterday between the SEC and the CFTC, and Coinbase in the room with the banks and all these things where they're trying to work this out so that they can get that clarity. Because once we have it, I feel it's really going to be game on for the industry, and the floor will be set by the institutions themselves. There's no retail here, as you guys have talked about for the last year or more, right? Like, and I think English is right that this has been a bear market since Trump was inaugurated. And the only reason Bitcoin continued to push higher was because of those institutional inflows. And so now they're just resetting everything. Again, tinfoil hat on. You look at the gamma pins, how they've kept it in this range. That's expiring. That'll probably roll forward to February. Who knows? But either which way, I think the institutions themselves are going to set the floor, regardless of what Binance does.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's not going to be a floor set by retail. So I think that makes sense. Just depends where that happens. But good conversation, guys. Enjoyed it. Had a variety of headlines today. We're going to come towards the end of the show now. But of course, we've got to do our giveaway. Ledge, maybe you want to make a final point and then roll it straight into the Yeet giveaway.
I want to give a shout out to the YouTube comments, which have been super, super active on our discussion so far. Diablo Incognito is saying Binance made billions moving the markets, and they say, oh, we'll put $1 billion in to help. Also saying, gotta let the markets market. Charity ain't gonna help stop the crime, and you don't need to offer false hope. And English is adding, he also noticed that market manipulation is always down suppressing, never being manipulated up. And saying that Funky Steak, bit in disagreement with Funky Steak, that it sounds a bit hopeful. And Diablo finishes by saying, just buy copper, not financial advice.
Okay, yeah, we're already metals traders, guys. We're already metals traders as well. We are buying copper. Well, I was in and out of it yesterday, but I've been there, and I will continue to. Right, let's close the week off. Well, guys, it's been a good show. Been a good week. Ledge, what do we need to do here?
Yes, absolutely. It is time for the $500 giveaway. For the participants on the Modern Market Yeet board, we did see a very, very active week with 80K in volume. That is by large because Funky decided to double up his usual 25K and do 50 this week. We have Phonics with 15, JLo with 8.5K in the third spot. Put together our wheel of names, did do the weighting by volume. Let's shuffle it a bit so it looks nicer. There we go. And spin it to see who is winning $500 for the weekend. Yeah, this is going to be funky. This is a big segment with 6 funkies back to back. Funky there we go. Congrats.
Congrats to Funky. Put in the big numbers again. Congrats to you. Shout out to Yeet for supplying us with $500 to give to our affiliate users. We will be back next week. That's the end of the show for today. Funky, that will get taken care of. It will be in your account over the weekend. We hope you have a wonderful weekend, guys. Thank you to my co-hosts, Legendary and Bread. Thanks to Funky and Stats for their contributions. As always, we'll be back same time, same place on Monday. Have a good one, guys. See you on the other side.